Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on a very active Monday, February 19th, 11:42 p.m. Mountain Time 2018. You're looking at Sinabung erupting just hours ago in a very big way. Take note of the pyroclastic flow at the base of this volcano. This is coming at 900 miles an hour at the temperature well above 1200 C. Could be in upwards of 9,000 degrees. And the people are running, as they should be. This is the flesh releasing agent that you do not want to be close to a volcano like Sinabung when it's erupting like this. I'm sure lives were lost. We'll get to it. But the eruption at Sinabung had ash to 55,000 feet. That's well into the stratosphere and well above the tropospheric boundary. And in a particular zone where the cosmic rays are causing cloud nucleation and they are quickly accelerated up into the upper stratosphere, these particulates. And the global cooling has begun. This is the second major stratospheric release of particulates in the last 4 months. Wild, weird weather on the way. Record cold west, record warm east. Flooding in the center. And volcanoes, they's exploding. Ain't that the way? We're not registering for you. But what we should notice is the insanity of the weather, and it's still picking up. Snow, record cold, plunge southward through western U.S. The same storm that caused officials to close sections of Interstate 90 in Washington on Saturday will continue to spread snow in an unusually cold air across the western United States early this week. After a very warm start to February, this storm will signal a pattern change by dragging much colder air into the region, according to Max Vido. And motorists on the road that I was just on, 25, 15, 70, and 80 across the Rockies, that's a heads up. We'll cover it. Guys, you'll get links to all this. Heavy snow and bitter cold blast the Rockies in the Front Range. These guys are totally serious. Look at this guy. I mean, he's got a special jacket. Look at that guy. Awesome. And he's got a chart. It's amazing. And then the way these temperatures pop up, and her hair, that's not even real. Those are extensions. But pink, that's good color on him, and it's a bunch of negatives. Cheyenne, Wyoming, heavy snow and frigid wind chills are blasting much of the Rocky Mountain region. That's boom. Covering Colorado first, as they should, with the hair extensions. The National Weather Service predicts at least 6 inches, that's 15 centimeters for you Euros watching, of snow from the Colorado high country through most of Wyoming, where winter storm warnings are currently in effect. More than a foot of snow, that's 30 centimeters, could fall in some mountainous areas, including mine. The forecast Monday and Tuesday also calls for gusty winds, which right now, guys, the highest wind event I've ever seen. When I got back to the ranch, all the Tyvek has been ripped off of the barn. I have all this roofing material. It's acres away. It's a quarter mile down on some fences. There's no way to assess the damage because then the snow started happening and now it's blowing. So what they're calling here for Monday and Tuesday, gusty winds for much of Wyoming and western Montana. We have gusts here to 70 miles an hour, and it's sustained 20 to 30 since I got back for at least 12 hours. That means wind chills as much as 30 degrees below zero, minus 34 Celsius. Many people are staying home from work Monday, of course, because it's a holiday. Avoid going outside, though, unless you have to. Dangerously cold temperatures hitting the Helena, Montana area, and we just said that, and this guy's just pimping. Why not? He lives there. Minus 30 to 35 expected. I'm not interested in this newsletter, but freezing temperatures are expected across California, and it could threaten the Central Valley crops. Did we predict that? I wonder who said something about that. Crop failures are imminent, and now it's moved to California after the media has been selling global warming in this area all winter. And now storm clouds move over the Redondo Beach Pier Monday. Freezing temperatures are forecasted to sweep much of California this week, potentially endangering the state's almonds and other lucrative Central Valley crops. Temperatures in most rural areas of the San Joaquin Valley, the heart of the state's agricultural sector, are expected to fall into the mid-20s, just like it did in the Dalton minimum, as reported in the historical documents. The below freezing weather could kill blooms on almonds and cherry trees, which appeared earlier than usual because of the unseasonably warm weather this month, exactly as it was documented in the historical record. February freeze, potentially record low temperatures ahead. This is you, British Columbia, and we're talking Environment Canada warning that the South Coast could experience record-breaking cold weather this week. Vancouver saw a low of -4°C on Monday, and lows of 5°C are expected Tuesday and Wednesday. Nighttime temperatures are likely to hover below zero the entire week, according to Environment Canada. In Vancouver, all-time lows for February 20th and 21st currently sit about -6°C on Thursday. Temperatures would only have to drop below -4°C to set the new record. As we set records, as predicted, we'll simply document them. Bitter cold temperatures to start the work week. This is Spokane, Washington. It's going to be cold. The Storm Tracker 2 team is tracking bitterly cold temperatures to start the work week in Spokane. Wind chill advisory is out for western Montana. We just said that. Libby, Whitefish, Missoula, and Helena are all reporting wind chills well below zero. Here's the temps at 6 a.m. for local wind chill. We got up to -21 in Helena, -17 in Missoula, Deer Park -6, Spokane -6, Omak 4. Conditions will be dry and sunny, but cold. And at the same time, yes, volcanoes, they just be exploding. Now, Broome, which is in Western Australia, smashes the annual rainfall record in less than 2 months as Cyclone Kelvin caps the big wet, coupled with increased cosmic ray flux unseen since the Dalton minimum, causing increased cloud nucleation, atmospheric compression events, and record-breaking rainfall. Broome has officially endured its wettest year on record. More than 2 years' worth of rain fell in the Kimberley in the past 2 months. And here's the spike, and it's still going up. So let's not consider this the top of the spike. This is just a data point in the upward progression. But you can clearly see the linear progression of the upward momentum since the 50s, because the cosmic ray flux has been increasing, especially in the last 3 solar cycles. And we're going to get to that because we're a science channel. And we're going to translate this, guys. And this is how you translate. You click on that once, and if it doesn't work, you click on it again when it says try again. But we had an update earlier on the Iceland swarm. These are historic seismic events happening in Iceland, especially in this northern region. The stars are freshly updated. I can even refresh it live, and hopefully this will come through quickly. So just bear with me quick. Yes, and it's there. And we have, earlier we were reporting on this major uptick just hours after it occurred. That's how good we are. We barely sleep. We simply report the facts so that people can properly prepare for what's coming. Now, thankfully, the seismic flurry of activity has waned again. But just like it did before, maybe this is a cycle. Maybe it's a resonant factor, and it will pick back up because I see a small spike here. So maybe this was the low and it's going back up. But this is a very high amount of activity, especially above 2, and we have several 2.5 events. But the seismic activity across the island is throughout. So we're going to be watching this, because I think that that is going to be happening soon in that region. So if we look seismically across this area, what I want you to take note of is that the entire mid-Atlantic ridge here is very active. And we have activity up in the Arctic region in a rarefied zone here, far from the ridge, north of Svalbard, 4.6. North of Iceland here in the Greenland Sea, 4.7. The U.S. Downgrade Service is reporting a 4.5, 36 kilometers northwest of Husavik, Iceland. And then if we travel south, a major event, 5.3 in the central mid-Atlantic ridge, which is adding more credence to the fact that the Earth is in fact widening, inflating. We're getting bigger. 5.3, 106 kilometers northwest of Tual, Indonesia. This is an interesting event, a 5.0 in Taiwan. So we definitely have an uptick here. And that is associated with the massive eruption at Sinabung, sending ash 16.7 kilometers, which is 5,500 feet. Amazing footage. There are terrified children running from schools. It's very sad. A high impact volcanic ash eruption started at Sinabung, Indonesia at 1:53 UTC on Monday, February 19th, 2018. Pyroclastic flows traveled 3.5 kilometers at unimaginable speeds down the side of that mountain and 4.9 kilometers from the summit. An ash plume that reached an altitude of 16.7 kilometers, placing it at least 2.7 kilometers above the tropospheric boundary, which is locking those particulates in the stratosphere for a long time. According to Darwin Vac reported at 4:50 UTC. Aviation color code was raised from orange to red. Now, their best estimate of the ash cloud top was 7.4 kilometers above sea level. The observatory noted that the ash cloud is drifting to the east and southeast, adding that the top may be higher than what can be clearly observed from the ground. Pyroclastic flows observed through the east-southeast slope at a distance of 3.5 kilometers from the summit, and through the south slope a distance of almost 5 kilometers from the summit, they said. Thankfully, probably is in the exclusion zone, and I did not have time to double check. But idiots are always in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm sure lives were lost simply from the panic caused from running away from this volcano. And I'm going to quick show you some amazing shots. Look at these cylinders, concentric, like blowing smoke rings from your Duber. Just amazing. And then tragic pictures of children running from a school. Look at that high def. The gods are returning. Here are the kids I saw. Look at this. Look at these faces. Enough doom and gloom. Let's just change it to some science. Real quick here. You can see the tropopause. This is occurring at around 14 kilometers. And we're going up to 15.9 here, where the high altitude slow ascent outflow takes this up to 80 kilometers. So here you can see the long-lived bromocarbons. When you get above the tropopause here, there are upward forcing circulatory currents that bring those particulates in the upper stratosphere, and they remain for long periods of time. They're convective currents in the upper stratosphere that suck up things that come right here through the tropopause, and they throw them up, and they remain for a long time. And these are only going to be additive. So as more volcanoes erupt, as predicted, and we're just at the very beginning, this is only going to be increasing through the next decade and onward. So today also volcanoes We have Reventador and Mayon is being reported here as an eruption of volcanic ash. We also have Sabancaya and Ibico to the list. You'll get links to this below. In the gray, show more. And why is this happening? What is happening? Why is this happening? Well, scientifically, we know. Guys, the Earth's shields are down. This is the data points that we have from science showing the progression, which is logarithmic, of the weakening magnetosphere. And this is associated with the magnetic pole flip. So the magnetic poles of Earth are flipping. They haven't done this ever in humanity's lifetime that we know of. But you're living it. And in the next few decades, the magnetosphere is going to drop to zero and the poles will flip somewhere near the equator. Just west of Indonesia. So for those of you living in that area, heads up. Cosmic ray flux is rapidly increasing. Here in New England, it's up 19% from March 2015 to June 2017. In the West Coast, up 13%. And we know that cosmic ray increase causes cloud nucleation, which is why we're seeing the record rains in Western Australia breaking all-time records, and other effects like increased volcanic events because of the muons heating high siliceous magma in the subsurface. And now as the solar wind, as we come over to spaceweathernews.com here, we can clearly see it dropping off here. We're going to go back into a high seismic uptick. So we're going to talk about some solutions real quick, but let's talk about some other effects. So the pole reversal should happen around 2035 to 2050. And at the same time, the solar wind pressure will be reducing to zero at around 2030. And according to the double dynamo and Zarkova's work, at the same time, between 2030 and 2050, the sun's double dynamo will shut down or be out of phase or be negative or zero, or everything is culminating at the same time. And even the mainstream, Dr. Lisa Upton at the Observing the Frontier conference, her data is showing that cycle 25 is going to show a reduction in at least 30% from cycle 24, which is less than the CMIP6 model, and I've adjusted it here for you, and it's now in this olive drab with Lisa Upton's data. Thank you, Lisa. So go visit her website, which we talked about yesterday in the last update. Solar wind pressure to zero, sunspots to zero, Earth's magnetic shield to zero. The poles will flip at zero somewhere west of Indonesia in 2035 to 2050. We have an electric comet that's coming in close proximity just prior to this. So let's start thinking about the Monolithic Dome and what they are. They're superstructures. And it was designed in the 70s. It was invented in the 70s after Buckminster Fuller was coming up with his Buckminster fullerene. Geometric shell pattern. So this is basically a way you make an extremely resistant living space. You can even make greenhouses. You can use the monolithic dome structure as a rear wall. Now this particular design is an airform steel reinforced concrete and polyurethane foam insulation dome where you have a shotcrete inner layer and outer layer, or gunite, but it's concrete shot with a blower onto reinforced rebar and other insulating layers. And I'll leave you links to that and the inventor here, David B. South. He is the inventor of the monolithic dome that I just showed you. And he now is the owner and president of Monolithic Dome Institute. So this is a pretty good video. And you wouldn't think a guy that looks like a Republican with a red tie and a blue blazer would invent something like that. But he's a total badass. And so we should all be looking into what this technology is, because it's something you can easily learn how to do, or hire people that know how to blow concrete. You just need a concrete sprayer. You can make these grids of rebar yourself. You can, tie down the styrofoam. It doesn't weigh anything yourself with some ladders, and maybe set up scaffolding and platforms. But this is totally doable by any person that just wants to do something like this. And think of what you will gain by building a monolithic dome for yourself. So I'll leave you links to that and the founder's explanation to it. There's also the Superadobe Dome Material Cost Calculator and modeling tool that you can make these kind of domes with earth bags. It's really not the way to go, I don't think. But I'll leave you links to that if you're an earth bag person. It's coming from Terraform. Hope you got something out of the video. Share this with like-minded people. The time is now to start preparing for the events that are going to be happening in the future, that are going to shut down the economy and the stores that you currently are able to buy all of your products at. Be safe, everybody.